Well, Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino joins us now. Matt, okay, on Monday, we talked about the end of summer and the beginning of fall.
Right.
But you have another bit of insight for us related to the changing seasons and Arctic sea ice. Okay, what's going on?
Yep, that's right, Blair. So every summer, of course, we see the sea ice over the Arctic Ocean contract and get smaller and smaller as the Arctic warms. Now, as the northern hemisphere is beginning to cool off, that sea ice will begin to grow again. So around this time of the year, we see what is called the Arctic sea ice minimum, meaning it's melted back, it's reached its smallest area, and it's going to start to grow back again as things begin to cool off. Now, this orange line is the 1981 to 2010 30-year average of where the sea ice goes. If you average all those years, it usually covers everywhere inside that orange line. This is where it's shrunk on down to this year. You can see there's a lot more open water inside that 1981 to 2010 average. So it was another year where we saw the sea ice melt away a lot more than it has according to the satellite record, which goes back 47 years. So it's a pretty robust record that we have. This is all measured by satellite sensors, and it's pretty good data for sure. Now, this could change because there's still some ice floating around up there. If we get some good storms, it can make it go a little bit smaller. It happened on, I believe, the 11th of September, the minimum. Now it's beginning to grow back again, which is also a little bit earlier than the average too. So we're seeing it shrink back more, and we're seeing it shrink back to its minimum earlier in the summer, which are all not great trends if you're a fan of Arctic sea ice, right? Let's look at this another way. This is a line graph also showing the minimum Arctic sea ice extent. This year is, let's see, which year is this year? 2025, the blue line right here, right? You can see it's not the lowest. That was this dashed line back in 2012, but it's in the middle of a pack, and it's in the top 10 of the lowest Arctic sea ice extents that we've ever seen. All of the 19 lowest have happened in the last 19 years. Now, again, that's another concerning trend, but there is a caveat to that because we haven't really seen, like this year, get a lot lower than 19 years ago. So there's been a flattening here, and that's the subject of much debate and research in the Arctic ice community. So to sum it up, this is what it looks like, to bullet point it for you, Blair. This year, 10th smallest end of summer sea ice extent that we have on record. And again, the records go back 47 years, so it is a pretty robust record. The 19 smallest have all happened in the last 19 years, again, which is really, points to the warming that we're seeing in the Arctic, and all the Arctic scientists believe that the Arctic will warm at a higher rate than the rest of the planet, and this would help to confirm that. But we haven't seen it, again, this year be a lot lower than 19 years ago, and that is the subject of a lot of debate and research that still needs to happen.
And Matt, I'm curious, are we seeing similar ice trends in the Antarctic?
Yeah, it's a great question, Blair. The Antarctic, the dynamics there are different because remember, the Antarctic is a continent, so the sea ice rings the continent. The Arctic is an ocean, so that sea ice covers the ocean. But we are beginning to see similar trends in the Antarctic. Of course, the seasons are reversed in the southern hemisphere, so they reached their third smallest Antarctic sea ice extent back in March. The third, it can get confusing when you're switching hemispheres and seasons,
I totally
right?
Get it.
Okay, so third smallest maximum, which just happened now because they're just entering the Antarctic winter. So they would get their greatest sea ice extent. Third smallest on record is likely. It may get a little bit, it may change a little bit. It usually happens late September or early October. But back in March, when they reached the minimum at the end of the Antarctic summer, second lowest on record there. So again, we haven't seen the trends. This is all, the trends in the Antarctic are more recent, say in the last 5-8 years or so. Not as long as the trends that we've seen in the Arctic, but we are beginning to see it. And this has big impacts on weather because the more open ocean you have, even though it's cold water, it still releases heat to the atmosphere, generates more storms. It changes the ocean current. So again, big impacts on the planet.
Okay, Matt, interesting stuff. Thanks so much.
You bet.